What's up, guys? Post-hunt clarity is back, and we got microphones, so hopefully our audio's not ass anymore.
Ben's wearing an Xbox headset, a
Yeah, I got a
PlayStation headset,
PlayStation headset on that I just plugged into my laptop.
and I just spent the last 20 minutes fucking with these new DJI lav mics trying to get it hooked up via Bluetooth just for Ben to tell me that the audio sounds worse. So we'll see when this is all done. But we're trying to make progress while we're doing this from 550 miles away from each other.
Yeah. But yeah, we just got to the point where I'm like, all right, you're either gonna figure this out in like the next 2 minutes, or I'm not doing a fucking podcast
We
tonight.
got 3 minutes of this,
Figure it out.
but we're here and we're ready, and it's been a while. I can't tell you what episode this is. It's got to be 20 something, right? Close to 20 something.
I don't know. I mean, it's been
a few
since
months.
Christmas, probably.
We had some this winter, but basically what we're saying is this is kicking off. Yeah, we did.
Oh.
This is kicking off season
3,
two and a half. Season 3.
Yeah,
Season
2.5.
3 of post-hunt clarity.
We started it like
it was
late
Halloween
October of 2023. Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, so we're here to post more. We're gonna try and get 2 a month out all the way through December because we got some new things going this year. A little bit the last couple of years, if you guys have been paying attention, we've been talking about Ben hunting some private and having some good luck in Wisconsin, and me hanging and banging on public. And I would say the roles have reversed a little bit this year, but that's not quite the case anymore. So we'll dive into that about what's new with us, where we plan on hunting, and what has been going on so far. And today's July 17th, 2025, so that gives you guys a date.
Yeah, so I think tonight's episode, Gabe and I talked to about being a little bit more strict about like coming up with a topic for each episode. Like obviously we're still, I mean, it's been 2 years, but we're like 20 episodes into this. Like we're not professional podcasters. So like, I think before we just got on here and would just wing it, which like made for some cool conversation. But I think now we're at the point where like we want to kind of try and pick topics to dive into. Obviously this time of the year, it's nice to kind of fill you guys in on what we've been up to or what's new, like hunting lives. And then I think tonight's topic is just going to be all about summer preparation. So whether it's scouting, whatever, shooting, whatever it might be, just kind of whatever we're doing to get prepped for this upcoming season, kind of what we're looking at and, what we're paying attention to and trying to get done. So, Gabe, if you want to start, your news is pretty exciting, or what you got going is pretty exciting. So fill our viewers here in on what's going to be different for your upcoming hunting season. Well, first of all, you got married.
I did get married. I got married in June, so I probably won't be hunting a whole lot.
So Gabe and I went and ripped it up we were together and we meant to podcast back Memorial Day weekend for his bachelor party, and we ripped it up for 4 days.
Yeah, we were listening to our theme
for
song.
10 minutes. Yeah. And
Liquor
then
by Joshua Block.
Then we were back together for your wedding in June, and now we'll be back together in like 3 weeks. I'll be back up for a wedding, but
you almost make it sound like it's a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
Like every time Ben shows up. But no, it's been we've got together a couple times, but we haven't been serious about doing the podcast thing. And then I got the notification that my subscription was coming up again, and I was paying for a podcast platform. So I'm like, yeah, we should start podcasting.
Yeah.
So it's like $100 or something a year for Podbean is where we upload through, but it's available every week. So, but yes, what's new? So last couple of years, all I've talked about is doing hang and bangs on public land. And I've had a couple permission pieces, and it's always the case where if I get permission somewhere, I'm never the only person that has permission there. I'm always competing against other hunters, and sometimes they only gun hunt, but still, it's one of those where you could, really try to target a buck until November, and then as soon as gun season comes, I mean, the property's trash. You got the week before, guys are coming in, setting stands. Season comes and goes, like it gets piss pounded, and some of the other properties definitely have bow hunters. So what did I do this year? I talked to one of the neighbors for the big property I've had permission to hunt on, who I technically accessed through the last couple of years, and
Yep.
he had some guys hunting there. And I know his property was like a sanctuary just with the amount, with the type of habitat he has there. And I knew the guys hunting there just probably like one, I don't think they were killing anything. Two, I
Yeah.
don't think they were very great hunters. So
Yeah,
not
didn't
like a
really know how and where to hunt, and they were
yeah,
just kind of
correct.
like
Like there's just
throw a
stands
ladder stand
everywhere.
up and
Yep.
just sit in that stand or whatever. Yeah.
So what did I do? I called this guy, and last year, if you asked me, my rule was I will never pay to whitetail hunt. But because of
Mm-hmm.
what I do in the industry and the people I work with, I'm coming to reality hopefully a little bit earlier than most people. And I'm not saying I want to advocate for it, but I paid to lease this property. I made him an offer, and we went back and forth a little bit, and I got this property for a very decent price. There are a couple drawbacks. I won't dive into that, but there's a reason we landed on the price we did. But yeah, so I have my own private property leased to my dad and I from May 1st, 2025 through May 1st, 2026. I get the whole year, every species I want to hunt, whatever I want to do, I can do to this property. We have it in the lease agreement. It's a really great lease agreement. In fact, it's probably, if I was a landowner, it's probably very lenient, but the guy seems pretty courteous and, he's not a hunter at all, does not care about it. And one of the biggest things was exclusivity, which I kind of hate being the guy on the other end because everybody else that had permission to hunt basically got a phone call saying, hey, I leased out my property to somebody else, you're not hunting here this year. So, which is
Yeah.
great for me, but I do put it into perspective for other guys like, oh, that sucks. But my reality of it was this. Like I work with a bunch of guys in the industry that, are big land managers and they run outfitters. Like they're spending bukus of money raking up every piece of whitetail hunting real estate that they can, and it makes it
Right.
hard for kind of like that working class, middle class hunter to find property to hunt if they don't own one. Like the days of permission, they still exist, but they're getting less and less. It's typically that boomer generation that's now dying off. And the people that inherit that land, like they know there's value. So they want to lease it, sell it, whatever it is. So I
Mm-hmm.
got ahead of the curve. My goal was to build a relationship with this landowner. Plus, I still have permission to hunt the 340 acres or so that borders this property. And my long-term goal is next year to see if I can lease both properties and go on with a couple guys so it's affordable in lockdown what I think is an absolute deer mecca. So I've had trail
Yeah.
cameras out just for the last 2 weeks now. I've had four good bucks, good northern Wisconsin bucks. One that I would consider is probably going to be a shooter. I mean, depending on as an 11 or 12 point, he could develop into a 140s class buck, I think, to be completely honest. That buck that I'd sent you pictures of Ben. He's basically got 6 on one side, 5 on the other with a split G2, and that split G2 as of yesterday was only, I mean, it was an inch split both sides. But it's the 17th of July. I'm saying on the light side, 2 weeks more of growing. Most guys will say deer will grow well into mid-August. By August 1st, like your deer might put on an inch or two more in the over, mid-August. But for the most part, whatever your deer looks like at the beginning of August is probably what they're going to look like after they shed velvet.
Yeah, you've got a pretty good idea now what their frame and stuff, like what caliber of
Yeah,
deer they're
what
gonna
caliber,
be.
what class? Like
Yeah.
as he sits right now, he'd break 130. I don't think he'd break
Yeah.
much more than 130, but he would break 130. So I'm guesstimating, you lose a little bit with velvet. The way his tines are still really balled up on top, you can tell that he's still growing. I think mass is done, but tine length is still coming. And if he can add even an inch of tine to all of his tines, I mean, we're sitting, yeah, around the 140 crest, which is my goal for this year. I shot two very little bucks on public last year, one with a gun, one with a bow. And I was super happy about both of them. We had talked about those hunts in the previous podcast, but my goal for this year with the lease is that I said 145 or bust, to be honest. I just want a 140 plus. I haven't shot a buck with my bow that has broke the 140 mark. I have a booner with a gun, but I do not have anything bigger than 135 inches with my bow.
Yeah.
So I'm
No,
gonna
I think that's
go.
a good deal, good goal, and I think even just first year it'll be nice to, hopefully just have some mature bucks around, even if
Yeah.
it's like, 130s class or whatever. Like, I think just to have some 3.5-year-olds, 4.5-year-olds, like some good northern Wisconsin bucks around.
And I
And I
just
think you'll
wanted good
have that.
hunts. Like
Yeah.
I wanted, I had so many hunts on public where things are constantly changing on public land.
Hmm.
You don't have control over who's in there, you don't have control over the food, what's going on, blah blah blah. There's so many factors that you cannot control. Well, on this lease, one of the biggest agreements was that I can improve the whitetail habitat. And what
Hmm.
that means is that I have permission to plant food plots. I can do cutting, I can do whatever type of habitat that I think is going to increase land value. And so far, I've put in 4 food plots. I have a 3/4 acre food plot called the pine plot. I have just over a 1/4 acre plot called the snowmobile plot that I think is going to honestly be my kill plot. I have another just over a 1/4 acre um, plot tucked away in the pines next to a pond that I call the pond plot. And then on the very other side of the 120, there's kind of an apple orchard, honestly. I think they're crab apples now that I've looked at it. But regardless, there's a bunch of fruit on those trees, and there's a lot of them, and it just laid out really good with a bunch of grass. For just another option to have a food plot. Now, whether that one gets hunted or not, I don't really care. That one, in my opinion, is like when the wind's bad everywhere else, that plot is a good option. And then for the same thing, it's just extra food for the deer.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I,
just
even if
extra
I don't
food, and
care, like
then
it's just like you got to think, not
it's
just
just something
planting
that'll
food
help
plots.
hold deer. Yeah.
Yeah, like everybody, they'll go out and plant a food plot and their goal is I'm going to hunt over this every single time until I kill something. Well, that's not the case. When you're trying to take a land management approach, sure, like food plots you want to hunt, but you don't have to plant every food plot with the intention that you're going to kill over it. Like having actual food for whitetails, and that's kind of what I did is I planted some hybrid brassicas, annual clover, and I threw in some purple top turnips, and that one hopefully it grows. And I think things are going pretty good because we've had a decent amount of rain now the last couple days. But I have 4 plots that I designed from scratch and just planted them last week. So there's a whole, I could dive into the whole story about what I did to them, but I'll give you the long story short. Basically, I walked the property in April and then decided, okay, I definitely want to lease this. Got them to agree to this lease. Then once May started, I'm like, okay, I need to spray food plots. So I found an old sprayer, got my dad's 4-wheeler, went out to spray, never mowed, and then realized that was a fucking mistake because the grass and the trees were 6 feet tall and it didn't work. So I ended up having to go back, rent a rough cut to pull behind a 4-wheeler. So I mowed everything, tracked it on Onyx, looked really good after I mowed. Then I sprayed everything, and then the next day we were supposed to get over a half inch of rain. And I had talked to one of my buddies from high school who owns a tree company, and he works with Jeff Sturgis doing whitetail habitat stuff and improving whitetail habitat. And he was saying, do the no-till method. Like throw your seed over what you mowed with the rain, like it's gonna pound that stuff into the ground. And if you can cultipack it. Well, I don't have a cultipacker. So what did I do? I ran out there the next day after spraying and I threw down clover on every plot except the biggest one and left it ride. Just like broadcasted, walked, left it be, and I went back out there at the end of June, gave it 3.5 weeks. And I get out there with Ellie, and I'm so excited. Where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to show you this plot. Like the clover's gonna be coming up. And Ben the entire time is like, oh, I think we planted too early. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm listening to different things from everybody. I got, my old boss on one side is like, you have to till, no till doesn't work. And I got another guy that's like, don't till, don't waste your time, just do no till. I get out there and all I see growing in these food plots are weeds. There's not a single speck of clover anywhere. So I called Ben. I was telling him, I'm like, okay, well, that's fine because I gave myself time to fail, knowing that I can still now go till, spray, till, whatever I need to do, and then plant towards the end of July, early August. And that's what I did. We went out there with a tractor July 3rd and tilled up all of the plots. A week later, 7 full days later, Dad and I went back out with a bunch of seed, and our day was to spread seed, get these food plots planted. I go out to these goddamn food plots, and I see clover growing everywhere, like just sprouted, just germinated. So what had happened was the stuff I had mowed down because it was such thick raspberry brush and grass. I don't think my seed ever got soil contact. But as soon as we tilled it up, like those seeds got drove down into the soil and boom, they germinated. So I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna tear up the clover I planted with the four-wheeler so I get fresher dirt. And then we replanted everything, and that's where we're at right now. That was just over a week ago as of tomorrow, and I do not plan on going back to that lease for another 2 weeks just to see how things are going, and if I need to pivot again and do something else, I will. So it's a
I
learning
think
curve for me.
I think at this point though, with tilling, like you'll have plenty good growth.
I think it's going to be really good because all of those plots get really good sunlight, which a lot of people they struggle with food plots when they put them in the woods because the canopy's so thick.
Mm-hmm.
My benefit is this is a pine plantation that's only 10 years old. Like the tops of these
Mm-hmm.
pine trees are 15 feet. So there's literally like there's so much sunlight, which is why there was a bunch of grass and the property's just laid out between the bedding and the pines plus the CRP grass. And now I have food plots around this sanctuary of pines. And it's also a couple food plots are staged before neighboring big ag. And what I mean by that is like the neighbors have 200 to 300 acre cornfields or soybean fields. So the idea was that deer are bedded here on the property I lease or the property I have permission on. To get to their big evening food source, they have to go past one of these food plots and use it as like a staging because there's a lot of cover. I believe that a couple of these mature bucks that I've been seeing will be comfortable, especially now that stuff's planted. Like they'll get used to eating it over the summer. And even once their testosterone kind of ramps up and they shed their velvet and they split apart from bacheloring, like if you've ever seen it, a lot of places bucks don't really enter their food sources until like the last light, like last half hour if you're lucky. A lot of the cases, it's like last 5 minutes they show up. The goal of this is to have deer show up a little bit earlier before they go hit the big food sources.
Yep. Yeah, that's ideally what you want. So your all your summer prep is mainly geared towards a habitat setting up.
Yeah,
Like
that's
you
what
were,
a lot of mine has been. I really
and
haven't scouted like I've scouted in the past.
yeah, you've I'll set the stage, I guess, a little for you, but you had not had permission to hunt this specific piece that you leased, but there was a piece of public that's landlocked
Yep.
with an easement, I guess, but and then you had permission on a neighboring piece as well. You were using this guy's piece to access, so you knew the piece pretty well. You just weren't hunting that
Correct,
specific
yes.
piece.
I
Like I
was
remember
hunting
you
the
had told
deer that
me.
lived on the piece. I just had to hunt them not on that property, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I remember you kind of talking about that, and so you're yeah, that's cool. So for probably the first time in your hunting career, you're able to kind of focus on habitat and just like doing things to make deer want to stick around your piece of property.
Well, I'm able just to focus on one piece. Like that's always been my problem
Mm-hmm.
in the past. You and I talked about where I have one trail camera on this piece of public, then 5 miles away there's another trail camera, and all of a sudden 30 miles the other direction I have two or three other trail cameras. And I'd never get giants, but I'd have a decent buck show up at each one, and then I'd struggle to figure out where I wanted to hunt, and it was always a game of cat and mouse. Like I'd go here when I should have went
Mm-hmm.
here. I'd go here and I should have went here. Now I have continuous between the public, my lease, and the permission. There's 540 plus acres that I can hunt that all touch. That's a huge, giant piece that most people will never get to touch in their lives. Where continuously people are worried about, oh, my deer's gonna go on the neighbors, like, I gotta kill them before them. Like, I have access to it all. I can access from the north, I can access from the south, I can access from the east. Like, it's the perfect place, which is the other reason I decided to lease it because I'm like all the cards lined up. And I think that for me to hunt this smart, like I'm gonna put all my damn cell cameras on the one property or that area, and then I'm not gonna go this year and go blast cameras in the Blue Hills. I kind of want to just because in the past I know that I've seen some good deer, but I don't want to get myself in a position where it's like, okay, I have these deer on the lease, I can wait. I don't need to try and rush and kill a deer here in September or October early. I can just be patient and actually hunt and learn this piece. And I think I'm going to stick to that, right? Like we
Yeah,
have a couple trips
and I
planned
think
and
I think you're gonna have more fun with that too. Honestly, just like a change of like doing habitat stuff is kind of fun. Like you'll get as much enjoyment out of like doing your food plots and watching those grow and like putting in mock scrapes and just like doing
yeah.
shit like that as you will like, hunting public, So I feel like it's I don't know, having a piece that's kind of yours is fun.
Yeah, what does suck about it though is the piece isn't just mine. It's overrun by some black bears too that I've really been going to fucking war with. And I thought that this lease is I would consider this an ag country. Like I'm south of Highway 8 yet, and there's a lot of farmland around, so I'm like, okay, there's still a lot of bears, but like this piece shouldn't be affected. Dead wrong. I've put out cameras. They've all been molested by black bears. I have one camera, MIA, got drug off, and I'm getting pictures of the fucking trees blowing, while it's facing the sky. And there's a mom with two cubs, and then there's like 250 pounders, and then all of a sudden I blipped a picture of what I think is like a 400 pounder, and I'm like, what the hell are all these
Yeah.
bears doing on this property? But there's a lot of water. I think it's got the habitat, but shortly here, I have a feeling those bears are going to disappear.
Yeah.
Just,
Nice.
I think the habitat changed just in the last couple days. I've had less bear photos, and all of a sudden, like, I'm getting deer up the ass now. Like, I've multiple different bucks, lots of does, lots of fawns. When 2 weeks ago, these trail cameras were basically dead, and I mean, they're just getting deer walking by. So I don't know if it's the food, the corn's growing up now, soybeans are growing up. Like, there's
Yeah.
just, stuff is changing throughout the summer where deer are moving around or whatever it is.
Yeah. Interesting, man. That'll
So where
be
you at?
I'm excited for you. It's gonna be a fun year.
Yeah, we'll
So
see.
I think you'll have fun with it. I think worst case scenario, like it's gonna be a fun project. Like you gotta just like, and I kind of realized this. I can get to this later, but I kind of realized this a couple weeks ago. Like you're doing it to have fun.
Yeah.
Like you and your dad are leasing the land together. Like the whole point is to enjoy it. Like try and get as much enjoyment out of doing the food plots and hanging stands and scouting and all that shit as you do like the actual hunt itself. You know,
Mhm.
um, I think you're gonna enjoy it, and I think you're gonna have deer around. I think you're gonna be, at worst case scenario, you're gonna be able to like be picky with what when you hunt and like keep the property as a little bit of a sanctuary. And even
I
if you
need to
don't have
be.
something around, I think during the rut something will show up.
No,
Like,
I know for a fact, and honestly, I'm probably gonna have to bank on you to like talk me out of these situations. Like I now that I waterfowl hunt, I should be okay with being like, you know what, I'm not gonna deer hunt. Granted, my
yeah,
month of October is kind of fucked at the moment because I
I
have a
think that's
wedding.
fine though.
I'll be in Missouri the first weekend. The next 2 weekends, I'm with you because what did you do? You were
We'll
like
get
the
to that.
5% of the 5% or something?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay, and then yeah, then I'm in Missouri for a week um, at the end of the month. So I'm only in Wisconsin for a total of I think 7 days in October. In those
Yeah,
7 days, I need to be busting my ass because I'm now a business owner, and if I don't work, I don't eat. So
yeah. Well, and so I think like for you having the beauty of it basically being like it's your land, your focus in the summer, and it sounds like it is, but for the viewers out there, needs to be just on like how can I set this up to be the ideal habitat for the
yes,
fall. And it's not always necessarily what I've learned is I used to just be like, how do I set this spot up to be able to hunt it? How do like there's certain spots, like you said, your one food plot, like might not be a spot you hunt. Just makes the overall property better. You know what I
no, that's
mean?
and that's
Like,
exactly it. And that was one of the promises I had to the landowner because he said he plans on dying with that property. But I was talking, I'm like, I work with guys that increase property value. As much as I don't ever want to see this land go crazy through the roof price wise, because it just means it's further out of reach for somebody like me to buy it. I do understand the other aspect. Like, I'm gonna do things to your property that will, if you ever decide that you want to sell it. Like instead of getting 3,000 an acre for it, I promise you with the work I've done with the if I lease it for a couple of years, like with the trail camera photos or pictures of deer that I harvest on the property, like there are going to be people willing to pay $6,500 an acre for it
Yeah.
or more. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll get to mine, I guess. So, for those of you who listened or follow me on Instagram, I pretty much hunted strictly public last year. I came up for a week bow hunt in Wisconsin beginning of November on some private, and then came up for gun season on some private. Other than that, everything I did was on public, which was new for me because I was kind of always in your shoes, the shoes that you're in now, of like I had private, I could kind of do what I wanted out there. My grandpa always did food plots, like he had been doing those since I was a little kid, so like those were kind of always done. But um, yeah, so I could kind of do what I wanted to do. And then I moved. And so I hunted strictly public last year. It was a lot of fun, but I just like part of me left like kind of wanting to and kind of disappointed I didn't fill that goal of like I really wanted to shoot something on public. Like I didn't care if it was a 95-inch buck. Like I just wanted to shoot it 8-pointer or bigger, but you know, the old 8-point and outside or at the ears was kind of my goal, and like I didn't really care beyond that. I couldn't have given a shit what it scored. I just wanted something 2.5 or older, and so part of me that kind of lit a fire under me to be like, okay, like if I have to hunt public this year, like I really want to get that goal done. I think I can do it. So I was fully set that I was going to hunt Ohio public this year instead of Kentucky. March rolled around, I went out scouting, like I was way ahead on my scouting, and then all of a sudden it got to be May. And I had kind of tried to get permission at a couple spots, like kind of half-ass. And I had a number of a guy who had knocked on his door last October. And he told me he didn't want me to hunt this past year because he already had a kid hunting it and he wanted to save it for him. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, it's already mid-season. So I called the guy. I'm like, hey, don't know if you remember me. I'd stopped by, we'd talked, I stopped again, brought you some venison. Still curious if maybe I could hunt this year. Don't need an answer right now. I'll come visit you in about a week. I'll bring you some more venison. We can chat. And he's like, okay. So I went down. He's a farmer and met with him. This was about middle of May. This was right before I came up for your bachelor party. And we talked. I brought him some more venison. We talked for a while. Like older guy, get there. You know, like I said, he's a farmer. He's sitting in a lawn chair in his yard on a Wednesday evening drinking a PBR. He's like, I've been drinking these since I was 14. And so, anyways, we're talking. He's like, all right, like you can bow hunt. He's like, you know, here's my property. He's like, don't go on that side of the road. That's where I keep my cattle, but you've got this 80 acres. He's like, that other boy might hunt. I don't know. He hasn't asked yet, but he's like, you're welcome to hunt. So I said, are you okay? You know, okay with trail cameras, okay with stands? Yep, fine, whatever. So got that locked down, and I'm like, okay, perfect. And it's like kind of a true southern farm piece. It almost reminds me of like Kansas a little bit. Like it'll be like tree rows and then a field, and then a tree row and then a field. So there's not a ton to hold deer there. But there are 2 cornfields, there's not a lot of other ag around at all. So I think there will be deer there. The reason I knocked on his door initially was I'd always drive by, or I drove by a couple times and there were deer out in the fields and stuff. So I'm like, perfect. This is a good spot for me to have. Like I can probably have 2 or 3 stands hung at this location if I get nothing else, and I can bounce back and forth between here and public.
Yep.
So I went up for your bachelor party. How'd this go? Went up for your bachelor party, came back. Went up for your wedding, came back, and I go to a kickboxing class. And it was just kind of one of those, like, when it rains, it pours type deals. Like, I had no luck getting permission. And so I've been going to kickboxing for a while, and I've gotten to know this guy pretty well. And our whole class went out for drinks one night. We started talking. Oh, I missed a huge part of the story. Okay. Anyways, so we started talking. I'll circle back to that. We started talking, and he's like, oh, do you bow hunt? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I own 30 acres. He's like, that I live on. You're more than welcome to hunt it. He's like, got some guys that rifle hunt it, but if you want to bow hunt it, like you'd be the only one. I'm like, perfect. So
Yeah.
now I'm like, okay, I probably have enough that like unless I want to or just don't have deer around, like I don't really need to hunt public. And then one of our friends, her grandparents had some land, and I'd just kind of been jokingly like working on her for a while, like you got to lock
Mhm.
this down for me. And she's like, I think I got you permission. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, you need to come meet them, but like I'm pretty sure I got you permission. So I went and met with them, and they're like, absolutely, you can hunt. You seem like a really nice kid. Nobody else hunts it. Nobody's hunted it in years. Our grandson used to, but he lives in Columbus now. Um, so they own three pieces, two of which I'm honestly probably just not gonna hunt.
Sure.
One of them, my friend kind of asked me to stay off of for some personal reasons that I'm not gonna get into. The other one is just like this really steep piece on the Licking River, I think. Um, and it's literally when I say steep, it changes 300 feet in elevation over 300 yards. Like,
Yeah, it's
and
it's a bluff.
it's super freaking thick. And the only I walked about halfway down the bluff, and
Oh,
the
you
only
did.
two
I don't remember if we talked about this.
yeah, the only two spots I found that I would sit because you literally it's one of those that it's so thick that like you can't make it really off the trail. And there's like two
Sure.
spots that I would sit, and her brother has stands there with feeders and with cameras still up, and the cameras are dead. But like, I just don't know that I want to start screwing with his stuff.
Sure.
And like, they're kind of the type of spots where it's like, without corn there or a feeder there, there's really no reason for deer to go there. But it's kind of the only spot to hunt, and like, I'm just not big on like putting corn out all the time and stuff, and
Yep.
feeders, and so anyways, but long story short, that gives me three really solid pieces to hunt. The part of the story that I skipped was back April, was it? You told me apply for North Dakota for a mule
Yeah.
deer tag. It'll take
Yeah.
you
As
two to
a
three
as a
years to draw.
as a fucking joke because it took me 3 years to draw the tag.
Yeah,
And
it'll
I
take.
looked at those stats today. Well, I sent you pictures of what the stats were.
Yeah, so you told me to apply, start building points. It's free, and I thought, why not? Kind of applied and didn't even think twice about it.
Because we
You and
were
I
thinking
had
about going to Wyoming to cash
we
in
were
my mule deer points for
thinking
my
about going to
rifle hunt.
Wyoming. I had kind of decided I wasn't just because Wyoming was going to be a really hard spot for me to get to.
No.
Um, and I was kind of at peace with that. And especially after I'd gotten that first permission piece. And go home for your bachelor party, and all of a sudden I'm working one day and I open my email and I'm like, oh, I got a letter from North Dakota or an email from the North Dakota Fish and Game. So I open it, successful. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because a lot of times they'll just say successful if like you drew a preference point or whatever.
Hmm.
So I send it to you, and you immediately called me, and you're like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" You're like,
I
"How did
was
you draw
so
a tag?"
mad.
You're like, "How did you draw a tag?" And I'm like, "That means I drew." And you're like, "Yeah." And so I called the Fish and Game, and they're like, "Yep, you got a tag." And sure as shit, 2 hours later, I got charged.
Yeah.
And so you and I talked about it. So that's the other thing we're doing is mid-October. I don't remember. Is it like the
The 12th.
14th or 15th, 12th? Is that when we're
12th.
leaving?
That's the first. That's that first Saturday or that second Saturday.
No, it's the 11th.
The 11th.
Yeah, the 11th. 12th
Okay.
is Sunday.
Yeah, whatever works, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about logistics. But we'll be leaving that
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, so the 11th to the 18th roughly, you and I are going to North Dakota to mule deer bow hunt. So Gabe's going to film me for the week. We've already got some permission locked down out there and should
Yeah,
be
it's
pretty
actually
freaking awesome. I've
he was
never mule deer hunted, so
the landowner was texting me last night, and he texted me at like 10:30 as I was going to bed. And he's like, "Hey, you think you can get me some discounts to this Kales or Zeiss scopes for some of my coyote guns?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll figure it out." And so, but
that's
it's so
funny.
funny. It's crazy that landowner I met wrote a letter, got permission from his mother, who's the sweetest old gal you could possibly imagine meeting. And then when I went out there, she wasn't doing great health wise. So the first time I just met her son, and him and I have been, I mean, we text once or twice a month now. And Ben was like, well, you better check and see if we still have permission so we can plan where we're going. I texted the guy. He hit me back within a couple hours and he was like, absolutely. Like, you guys can stay at my place. Don't worry about sleeping in trucks. He's like, I got a shower, I got beds, I got everything you need.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a good time.
So my prep is still going to be mostly whitetail prep. I'm going to definitely, like, I've already started shooting because I want to be really dialed in shooting for that trip. But
Yep.
that being said, like, you've already been out there, boots on the ground. You've already not only scouted it, but you've hunted it twice. I could spend the next month doing nothing but e-scouting, and I'm still not going to have as much knowledge on the piece as you do. So to be honest with you, I'm probably not even really going to e-scout before that trip.
I do to be put don't even get caught in that rabbit trail. I would just say trust me enough to the point where
Yeah, I haven't
within
even really looked at it, to be honest with
yeah,
you.
within we're gonna get there and within the first 2 hours of daylight, we're gonna be on deer and it's just you throw everything out the window and you hunt wherever the deer are at.
Yeah,
And
I'm
there's gonna
not
be
that
shooting
worried about
bucks.
that. Yeah. So my preparation more so, so you and I both have private to hunt now. That's kind of the summary of where we're at. But so I've got about 165 solid acres that I can hunt roughly,
Yep.
or that I'm gonna hunt. And that's spread out over 3 different pieces. So mine is more, my tactics are going to gear more towards learning the pieces. I mean, 2 of them I've only been to once so far, right? And like one of them I
Yep.
got to, and I'm like, sweet, there's cattle in here. Like, didn't know that, you know.
Hmm.
So just like learning shit like that. But I really think I've got 6 cameras out. I have 2 on each piece now. Which I've never run that many cameras before. You know, it's always been just like throw a couple out here or there, see if I can
Oh,
pick up a
hold
buck
up
or
for one
whatever.
second. Weren't you the guy that like a month and a half ago called me and you said, I'm just gonna go cameraless this year. I'm just gonna go
Yeah,
hunt. I'm not gonna worry about trail cameras. And here he is running more
yeah.
trail
So
cameras than he's ever run.
that was gonna be my public prep. Was I was gonna scout pretty hard this year, but I wasn't gonna run cameras. I'm like, screw it. Like if I'm gonna hunt public again, where my goal is like just to kill a 2.5-year-old decent buck. Like I'm like I know that there's gonna be some of those in some of these good areas. Like I'm not worried about finding deer. I just need to find sign. Like I'm not gonna run cameras. I'm just gonna hunt off woodsmanship. And now that I have private, like I want to kill something big. Like I'm not gonna shoot a
Yep.
2.5-year-old on private. Like unless something weird happens. But like um yeah, now my goal is like I want to be able to be a little bit picky. So my prep is a little different than yours. Like I said, I'm going to get some cameras, or sorry, I've got cameras out. I've been doing that. I've never run cameras before like the 15th of July, and I've had all of mine out for over a week now.
Yep.
I've had some out since June. Um, I want to learn these pieces a little bit better, but really I just want to start to get, I think I'm going to do like 4 preset stands, like hang on and ladder. Um, get all those set up, but so average of about 1 a piece, 1 with 2.
Sure.
Um, But really, other than that, you and I talked about it. I was kind of freaking out 2 weeks ago around like Amazon Prime days. I'm like, I don't have enough stands. I don't have enough cameras. Like, I can't keep up with all this. I don't know how I'm going to get all this work done. Finally, I realized I'm like, this is supposed to be fun. And I'm just stressing myself out. And so I think literally I'm going to have a couple of presets. And other than that, I bought a saddle this year before I
Yeah,
got
that was
any of
my
this.
other reasoning for don't buy more stands. Like you bought a saddle, dude. Be mobile on these
Yeah,
properties that this
I
year's going
bought
to
a
be a learning process anyways, where like you don't know where these deer are going to be. Wherever you go set stands, like you could sit there and watch deer from 100 yards away because you put your stand in the wrong spot. Now you're pissed versus
yeah,
just go hunt mobily.
Yeah, so honestly, my plan is, or my prep is basically going to be Saturday. I'm going to get a couple stands done. I'm going to get most of my stands done this weekend, just because I do have an idea of like where I want my presets to be, and I'm just going to prep some trees. Like that's the beauty of being able to saddle hunt on private is at least I can still cut shit. So I'm just going to find some areas I think are going to be good, get the trees prepped, get some shooting lanes cut and stuff, and then if they're not good, like nothing's saying I can't move again, but
Yep.
at least have some options and make it like find a specific tree that's easy to get up in. I know exactly what height I need to get to, and then I've got some shooting lanes and stuff cut. So got some cameras I need to move around too, but yeah, otherwise, to be honest, I don't have anything at all on camera yet that I'm all that excited about. I have, I think, like 2.5 year olds at one piece. But the pieces basically go, I've got what I call the farm piece, um, which is the one that I said reminds me like Kansas. It's
Yep.
got 2 cornfields and then a bunch of hay, and then just a bunch of tree rows on it.
With some
Um,
ponds.
Yep, couple ponds. I think there could be something giant around there, just based on the lay of the land. Like deer can come from a long ways away at a piece like that. Like I said, there's not a ton of other ag around. I mean, there's some other corn. Like the guy to the south has corn. Guy to the north, I think, might have beans or something. But there's not like a lot of people. If they do fields, it's just hay. Like it's not like there's a
Yep.
ton of stuff. So, anyways, I think that could be a really good piece. Then I have what I call Bruce's piece, because the guy who owns it's name's Bruce, and it is like really the piece is basically like like crowned. So like in the middle is like the kind of the highest point, and it kind of just like dumps off on all sides, and it's really thick and not mature trees. So like 80% of the piece, I would say, is not huntable, um, or at least the way he has the trail systems laid out, and like it'd be really hard to hunt. But he's got this sweet spot on the southwest corner. It goes from like a field that he doesn't really have anything planted in to like just these like immature like bushes and shrubs and just like thick gnarly shit to like this bowl of like oak hardwoods, and it's like thicker oak hardwoods, so like there'll be acorns in there, like it's gonna be a sweet spot. And I've been getting a ton of deer pictures down in there. And so anyways, I'm yapping, but um it's the type of piece I think there's just going to be a lot of deer around. So like, come October 25th, it's the type of piece I could see a giant showing up, you know.
Yeah, you just have to
Um,
make sure you're actually in the tree.
right, right. But it's the type of piece like through the rut I could see bucks showing
Yep.
up. And then the last piece I don't really have a name for, but it hasn't been hunted. It's got really cool, like it's got a lot of different terrain, a lot of up and down. Like it does have cattle in it, but I don't think that should affect the hunting too much,
I know. They're
honestly.
gonna be used to it.
Yeah. And it hasn't been hunted in long enough that I think there should be some mature bucks around a piece like that personally. Like
I
it's got a
bet you'll
lot
get
of
pictures. I really do.
there's not a lot of food around, to be honest. I would love to do like some sort of food plot there. I haven't I need to get to know these people a little better before I maybe ask to do that. That's maybe a next year thing. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's got good thick like bedding spots. It's got good travel corridors. There's a lot of changes in habitat. A lot of the neighbors around have just like fields with like 5 foot tall grass in it, but like not a lot of like timber and stuff. Like I think the piece holds deer pretty well. So
How's your access?
uh, not great, but not terrible.
Okay, so it's okay.
Yeah. Um, it's better than like a lot of the public I had to access through
Sure, yeah,
last
I
year.
was saying
Like
you
it's
always get stuck at a parking lot at some opposite of the property that everybody had to park and walk from.
Yeah.
So it's just like a
Yeah.
giant deer drive every day.
Yeah, it's decent. You have to access pretty much solely from the northwest side of the piece. So like getting to like the southeast is a bit of a walk, but I wouldn't say the access is terrible. So, um, the biggest thing is you have to park and probably walk right past the cattle most days. So
Right, that's not.
hopefully the cattle aren't aggressive.
Yeah, I guess you'll find out real quick. But like I
Yeah.
told you, was that the place you sent me a trail camera picture of where all the cows were
Yeah.
in front of the camera? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like,
So
I wonder what kind of deer
yeah,
this
it's
is.
a weird piece too. Like I've had like no deer pictures on that piece so far, and I've got that camera specifically. I think I need to move.
Yeah.
I just don't love the spot it's in. And it's pretty. I've got 50 acres there, and I've got two cameras within like 130 yards of each other because I liked both the spots, but
Yeah, spread them
I
out.
need I need to spread it out. But anyways, yeah, I don't have a lot of deer pictures yet, but I've also like I was just listening to a Jeff Sturgis YouTube video the other day, and he was talking about how like this time of the year, like that means nothing.
Yes,
Like
that means
that
nothing.
literally means nothing. Like you could have no deer in an area, and in the fall, that's where the giant buck's gonna be. Like
Yep.
it doesn't mean anything. So I'm not too worried about it. I want to hunt off instinct. Honestly, the one spot I'm going to set a preset there reminds me a shit ton of the tree I killed that buck out of uh, in October of 2023, the
Oh,
Creaky.
okay. Yep.
Hang on. It's just like really thick on one side, and then behind me is like a ridge system or a ravine. Um, to the east would be just like it's like right on the property line, so it's like 20 yards to the east is like where the neighbor's just like open 6 foot tall grass field is.
Hmm.
To the north is like kind of a cool travel corridor, and then that spot specifically is just like it just kind of naturally opens up. Like there's not really for like a 20-yard radius, there's not a
So
lot of
you're like
trees around
you're
or whatever.
hunting a transition edge between
Yeah, it's just
like
like
different stem counts.
it's a sweet, just like a lot of different habitats right there.
Well,
Um,
that's where big bucks die, dude. That's literally
that's
textbook. That's what everybody talks about is being on the edge of high stem count to open stem count with some food source because bucks don't necessarily want to travel through a big open space. They live in
yeah,
the thick. They want to come out just barely into some of that open stuff. Like that sounds pretty good just from the
yeah,
sound of it.
um, yeah. So, anyways, I've gotten to the point too where like I kind of had that freak out the other day, but I've gotten to where like I enjoy this part of hunting as much as I enjoy the actual hunting. Um, Sometimes it does get to be work. Like right now, I'm like, I need to get my stands out this week. I'm like, I need to get this piece done Saturday. I need to get the other piece done Sunday. Then I can kind of chill. But I'm like, I do stress myself out sometimes. But like, I've gotten to the point where I do enjoy just getting out there, going for a walk, I do love for the guy that wasn't going to run trail cameras, like I do love getting the pictures, getting the
Yeah.
notifications, like the excitement of like, all right, I just got a notification. What's this going to be? Like even lately I've
Mhm.
been like, if I wake up to piss at like 2 a.m., I'm like, all right, do I
Yeah,
have
you're
any like
checking it?
I'm like, do I have any notifications? Like I need to see if I've got any pictures. Like anything showed
We're in
up.
the
Like
same boat. That's
so
crazy.
it's just like I don't know. Like I have a lot of love for the sport, and like this time of the year is always exciting because you're getting ready for hunting season, and it used to just kill me because like when we had the same when you hunt the same private year after year, especially when you're a kid, like a lot of the shit's done. Like you
Hmm.
put in like we were kind of putting in food plots, and other than that we weren't really changing stands, not much needed to be brushed out. Like we probably weren't doing as much as we should, but I was
Like
12, 14,
habitat type
15.
stuff,
Yeah,
yeah.
I wasn't an adult, I didn't know what to do back then.
Mhm.
So just eat away at me because the only thing I could do is shoot my bow, and like now it's like some of this stuff is as fun as the actual hunt.
Yeah, and you just got to find time to do it all. So,
Yeah.
well, it sounds like we're gonna have crazy different should have crazy different experiences. And like I said, we're going to try to hit podcasts every 2 weeks so we can stay super updated with, okay, what did we accomplish? Like what our goals are, getting some final things touched up. And then we're going to go through and get some topics for you guys, try and invite some guests this year to a couple different podcasts. I guess that's one of the perks I have is that I'm not a very popular person, but I seem to know a lot of popular people. So, and it works out because I feel like they totally want to sit and shoot the shit for 45 minutes, on a night that we can figure it out. But before we end, I want to end with a question, and I want to ask Ben, um, if you could give people listening to this podcast one tip to think about or one takeaway from summer scouting, what is it?
Um, the biggest thing that I have been trying to hold on to is don't get hung up on the sign this time of the year. Um, Look for like deer trails and stuff like can be helpful because I feel like a lot of that's habitual.
Yeah.
But like don't get caught up if you're not cutting tracks. Don't get super caught up if you're not finding rubs or any active scrapes. Like deer do very different shit this time of the year than they're going to be doing 2 months from now, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something I think I've gotten hung up on. I even fight it a little bit right now. Like I told you, that spot that I'm really confident in, like what's there, like eating away in the back of my mind a little bit is like, well, I don't have pictures there. It's like, dude, it's
Mhm.
the middle of July. Like, it's probably good
Yeah.
that I don't, it's probably good in some ways that I don't have pictures there. Like,
Yes.
so anyways, that would be mine, is just like, use your instincts to know as a hunter what's going to be good in the fall. Look at the sign a little bit. Like I said, like deer trails and stuff, I feel like can be helpful, but otherwise, I would say don't get too hung up on beds. Like, don't get too hung up looking for scrapes. Like, if you can find old stuff that you can tell is from last fall, like, yeah, that helps. But
Mhm.
think of where the deer are going to be, not where they are right now. If you are in a
Gotcha.
situation like me, I guess, where you're not doing food plots and all that shit, you're learning new areas, I guess,
Yep.
or looking for new spots. What would yours be?
Mine's very similar, and I bring this up because I did a podcast with a guy from Pennsylvania last week, and he asked me something similar. In my opinion, it's changed in the last couple of years. I used to spend so much time putting on. I put 50 miles on the hoof in July, 50 miles on the hoof in August, learning new public pieces. Like I'm trying to find, like I need to find a buck. I need to find a buck. Trail cameras out for 2 weeks, not finding a buck. Okay, we're gonna move on. I gotta find something. My opinion's 180 flipped. Like when you're in the woods through June and July, don't spend your time at a new piece trying to find a shooter buck. Spend
Mm-hmm.
your time learning the property. Pay attention
Mm-hmm.
to the terrain features. Pay attention to pass sign. Look for runway. Spend your time looking for spots that like, okay, I could sit here. Like when I walk through the woods, it's like, okay, if I sat here, where would I access from? What wind would this be good for? Like go through and just learn the property. Fuck the deer. Forget about the deer. There's a good chance they're gonna show up at some point or not, depending on what you pay attention to in the summertime. Is there oak trees? Is there gonna be a food source? Is when the leaves fall off, is it gonna open up or is there gonna be plenty of cover where a buck's gonna feel comfortable? Like, don't get hung up in June and July trying to find the buck that you think you're gonna try to fling an arrow at in October, as there's a very good chance that that deer is not gonna be. If the deer is there right now, it's not gonna be there in October.
Yeah, or pretty unlikely. Yeah,
Yep.
you want to start getting pictures of that deer around like the 1st of September.
Yeah, and I think people always get hung up, and I had done that where the fact where, okay, I did find deer. In early August, I found deer, and I'm like, okay, that's the property I'm gonna hunt. I got good pictures of bucks. I'm not going in there. And then season comes around, and I'm like, where the hell am I gonna sit? Like, I didn't really spend time walking as much as I should have. Like, I picked out one spot, and that deer's no longer by the spot, and now I'm blowing up the property mid-season trying to hunt. So I'm just pay attention to the property, terrain features, learn as much as you can about the property, and not so much about the caliber of deer that could be on it.
And I think to your point, like if you want to find a big buck, pay attention to the things that a big buck needs more than trying to find a big buck, right?
Yep.
Like, so this, again, back to the spot I was talking about. It's like, okay, everybody talks about a change in habitat. There's a ravine with a creek bed in the bottom, and a lot of times those creek beds dry out when it's dry, but they'll hold water when it's wet. So I'm like, there's a good
Yep.
chance there'll be water at least part of the hunting season down in there. There's oaks up in there, so there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be acorns, which there's no ag around, so like food like that's going to be big. There's bedding cover close. There's an escape route. Like that's the type of spot where a big buck is going to cruise through, you know. Whereas just like a random ravine with a deer trail, like sure, but like you
Yep.
know maybe. I'm not saying no, but like those are the spots you really want to pay attention to this time of year, more
Yep.
so than just like let me try and find a deer, you know. So, um, yeah,
Well, that sounds
I
like a
think
wrap. I feel like
yeah.
that was a good way to get back into it for season 3 on post hunt clarity. It's now 9:05 for me. It's after 10 o'clock for Ben, and I'm gonna wake up at 4:30 and go to the boat and catch some walleyes tomorrow.
Oh, nice. I'm gonna wake up
Yeah.
and work tomorrow, and then I might get stands up tomorrow night. I've got a buddy who doesn't hunt, so I've got a buddy that hunts that's willing to help me Saturday set up the piece with cattle on it. So literally, what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk in. I'm gonna drop my stand at the spot that I think that I want to hang it, which is this piece I've been
Yep.
talking so confidently about. Drop down into the ravine, move that camera because I want to walk some of the piece with him and like get his opinion on it. Like he's a pretty good hunter too.
Sure.
Um, Sometimes just a second opinion is helpful, right? So
Hmm.
want to walk a good chunk of the piece with him. I don't think we're going to be able to carry everything we need in one trip anyway, so we'll just do like kind of a big loop back to the truck, grab the rest of what we need, pop in, hang that stand, prep a couple of saddle trees, get out of there. Um,
Yep.
and then, so anyways, my other buddy, who is not a hunter, I was able to corral him in. I'm like Saturday afternoon, like I'm like this guy needs to be back by 2, so I'm like we are gonna go. I need your help hanging a stand or two. He's like, all right. So I'm gonna go to the farm, and then he's like, well, I told my girlfriend I'd take her to this winery. So I'm like, all right, that's fine, but we need to do it either Sunday or Friday night. So
Yep.
either after work tomorrow or Sunday morning, we're gonna hang 2 stands. And fortunately, those should be pretty easy. That piece is pretty flat, and I can park pretty close to where I want both stands. But
That should be
um,
fun.
yeah, so I'm gonna get 3 of the 4 stands I'm gonna have hung up this weekend is my goal.
All
So
right, we'll see if those need to get moved before season or not. That's always the hard part about putting stands out right now. It's like I wanted to put them out 2 weeks from now, and then I'm like, ugh, do I wait until like the week before Labor Day, or is that too late? But that's a whole nother conversation we'll get into. On the next podcast, we'll talk about how it went for Ben hanging stands with somebody that's never been hanging stands before. That'll be fun. You better
oh
wear
yeah,
safety harnesses,
right.
stay safe, stay strapped, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Yo.